Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Adobo and Avocados. My name is Marie, and today I have two amazing women with me. So, who's gonna start introducing themselves?
I can do it first. Hi, I'm Nicole van der Hoeven, and I work with Marie, and I'm amazing person number one.
And today, yeah, we have a very special guest. So, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, special guest?
Yeah, hello everyone. So I'm Parveen, and I am a consultant at senior QA consultant at Thoughtworks, and yeah, it's lovely to be here with these two amazing people
Nice.
here. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's really great that you're here with us, Parveen. So, I first met Parveen like virtually, via the testing community. And when I first met her last year at Agile Testing Days USA, not sorry, USA, the one in Potsdam, we just really connected and we found out that we're actually, neighbors. So we both live in the same area here in London. So it's really great because it just shows, how small the testing community can be. But
And
before that,
also,
yeah.
I found out like
Oh,
5 minutes ago, I've
Yeah.
actually met Parveen virtually in the Ministry of Testing. And also, she was a rising star in the Eurostar testing conference that I spoke at. So, like, lots of intersections there that I didn't even know about. Parveen's just everywhere.
I
No.
know. Yeah, I think when I was first using Twitter as well, I remember like following you like, like as the first few people that I follow because you were already writing about, stuff in terms of your like testing journey, like in your blog. So maybe you could tell us a bit more on, how you got started in tech. Was it intentional? Did you fall into it accidentally? Because speaking to some of our guests in the past. Like there were some people, like for example, Rafaela Azevedo. She, came from like a technical background, so she really like pursued testing because she had influence as well internally. But for example, Nicole started off as an economics major and really fell into tech accidentally. So we're curious to know like what's your journey to tech so far.
Yeah, I think uh I definitely fell into testing. So I think my career like started as like my education background is like I was very much like from a very young age I was very much fascinated with getting into tech, and I was all like I think I still remember like whenever I used to have my school holidays, or when we were going to like uni or like when we used to have those summer breaks, my preference always used to be like I want to join these classes, like I want to learn this subject, like some like I remember in those days it was more like you had these learning different subjects like C++, Java. You had some crash summer course. So I think I've always wanted to be in tech in some way. And I think I've studied is as well related to computers. Like I did my a master's in computer science, but then once I think I was out of my uni, I did everything. I think I wasn't sure which way, where, what I should be doing. Like, I know I wanted to be in tech, but what? Like, because it's so huge, right? You can't just say, like, yeah, I want to be in tech, but what do you want to be? Like, do you want to be a developer? And if you want to be a developer, back end, front end, what? Like, so I had no clue where I have to go, like, because I think, again, because the way, education was back then, like when I studied, like it was more like you need to learn this, these are the subjects, but there was no clear direction of like, okay, once you study this or once after this course, these are the career choices you'll have, and this is how you can,
Mm.
and these are the jobs that you can apply, like at least those job titles or something. So I had no clue at all. So I think I was exploring, and just randomly going for interviews thinking that, yeah, I know Java, I know C, I know C++, so I want to do this, I want to pursue a career where I can make use of what I learned. um, And yeah, I didn't get into any of the jobs, and I think I felt so disappointed. And then I was like, okay, no, I want to try, keep trying, but I don't want to waste my time. So in the meantime, while I was searching for jobs, I just joined, because I think teaching or sharing knowledge is my passion. So then I joined a university, like, college kind of a university in India. So I wanted to keep, like, don't want to lose track of what I learned. So I joined a university where I was teaching the same. I was teaching C++ and Java to the students, so that I can just keep myself updated, and I can just teach people as well what I know. And that continued, and I didn't get in. Like, I think that was kind of like I was keeping myself like I'm in tech, but not exactly in tech. And then I think while exploring different careers and stuff, I think when I came to UK, that's when I fell into testing. Like, I had one of my friend who was, like, working in testing. I didn't even knew this something existed like, there was such thing existed, like, because I still remember I had one, not complete subject, but I can say some part of it, like, where I learned about, yeah, we do testing as part of a chapter, I can say, of one of the subject that I was learning in my university. And I didn't knew there's such career existed until unless I came to UK, which is like, yeah. And then when I heard what she was doing and how she was doing, and I think that really like kind of inspired me. And then that's where I was like, yeah, I'm in tech. So I think it doesn't matter, like, which part of it is, like, I think definitely I can, I really want to get try this. And I think that's how I just tried, and I got into my first job in a startup. And it's like, yeah, I'm never back to anything else. I think just being into testing and being in tech in this way, kind of, this is how it all started and ended up, I think.
Nice. It's fascinating to hear because, like, you validated like what I experienced as well. That during uni, like there was only a chapter about testing. I think the only topic that we learned was how to use JUnit for unit testing, and like testing as a career wasn't really actively spoken or like advocated like to the students. But in terms of like, because you mentioned that you did some mentoring, like you were mentoring like students, how long did you do that for?
Yeah, I think I did that at least for a year and a half to 2 years. And I think I was, at the same time, I think while being disappointed that I still didn't get a proper job of, like, getting into tech or something, I think I was really enjoying what I was doing while, mentoring those students, where, like, there were so many of them, and teaching them different things around the same different subjects, what I knew. And, I think I was really enjoying that. But then I think, yeah, I didn't want to continue doing that, because yeah, that was something very temporary. I knew I wanted to do that, but I think in the beginning I thought maybe I'll do it for 6 months or a year, but not more than that. But yeah, I think it ended up like more than, like, a year, and I think less than 2 year.
Where did you say you lived before you moved to the UK?
So I belong to. I'm from India, basically. So from south part of India. I don't know. A lot of people might not know, but I'm from city called Hyderabad. So that's where I
Mm.
am from. So that's where all my education and everything, like, what I studied, and so that's where, yeah, I've done everything there. And then I think that's then I moved to UK.
Hmm.
And in India, because I have a lot of Indian colleagues who are in testing, I think it's really awesome because I don't know, I correct me if I'm wrong, but I have this perception that India's a little bit ahead of the game in terms of representation in tech, because I know a lot of female testers who are from India. And I can't really say the same about, for example, the Philippines. I know Marie, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I can say that. I think when I was like, yeah, when I was back in India, right, and when I finished my education and I was looking for jobs and stuff, I think I literally, I think on those days or those time of the year, which I can say I was unlucky, because I used to feel like I didn't had the same like now you can see a lot of testers, like as you said, right, you can
Yeah.
see a lot of women, lot of
Mhm.
testers in tech basically. So back then I think it was not the same. I think now India, like these things are moving way more beyond, ahead, because as you said, right, they're more like in the ahead in the game. So I think it has gone a way ahead, because when I was there, it was definitely not in that way. Because I still remember when I was searching for jobs, a lot of people told me that, you know what, I think you should not get into tech, because once you get married, once you have kids, it'll become hard for you. If it's very hard job, very tough job to balance everything with. So I would say you should definitely get into teaching, because this is not something you should definitely try, and you will struggle a lot. So those were the views, and those were the things that's how it was. And I literally saw very few women in tech during those days. Okay, I think I feel so happy. I feel so happy to see, this change being, forget about like not just being like, any specific role, like not just developers or anything as such, but now if you're talking about testing as in, careers, I think we see a lot of women in, not just in specific positions, but in leadership positions as well. And there's so much visibility that you can see. And yeah, I think I can definitely say, like, yeah, there's been a lot of change, a drastic change from when I was there and now how things are changing now.
Mm. That's an interesting statement. And maybe it's good to have, like, if we can have another episode, like, focus on, not just, for example, because like you've mentioned that there's now more women as well in like leadership positions. And I think if we show, as much as data as well, like from our different perspective, I think, that's going to be like really useful, because like some people might still have the perception that once we've hit like certain positions in our career, like there's this vision that on the C level or on the like leadership there's less women. But like you said, there's more like evidence now that yeah, like
Mm,
women are now moving into like C leadership like positions as
yeah.
well. So that's really positive.
Yeah.
And also, if I may ask, are you married and do you have kids?
Yeah, I am married, and I have two kids, my son and my daughter. I have two of them. Yeah.
And how has it been? Like those people that said, you're gonna struggle because when you get married and have kids, it's hard to stay in tech. Has that was there an element of truth to that for you?
um Not really, I think. I think, I mean, once I can't connect both the things. So there is, like, I know, like, once we have kids, like, forget about if you're working or not working, your life changes, right? You end up having extra responsibility. And I mean, even if you're not working, if you think of that life, you feel like there's a huge sense of change within you, right? A huge sense of responsibility. And what you would do previously, maybe things change once you have your kids, right? So it doesn't make a lot of difference when you're working and having kids, because you still, of course there'll be certain challenges, of course, like, but then that's where it depends on your workplace, how much. So not just saying that you want workplaces, like you want diverse people within the teams and companies, but how are you supporting them? How do you know what needs they have, like, because different people may have different needs. So I think what I would say is, like, if you are a mom, like if you're working in tech, I think it's definitely a little bit challenging, but it's not it's not like you cannot do it, it's not like you cannot grow your career while having your kids. I mean, that's kind of like, oh my god, then there would be no like there would be no one out there in working, like, you know, you would just, you might make, you might have to make a choice, should you have kids and should you have a career? That's not a choice at all, like, you know. um, so I think it depends on a lot of different things, that because I do have a lot of respect to when I see women, like, you know, who has kids and they're, like, you know, they're moving into the different positions from, like, you know, from junior to seniorship to the leadership, because I know how much struggle it is, like, you know, and how much of a balance you need and how much support from your family and from your workplace. I think when you have these, so when you have all these things, then that journey becomes a bit, I won't say very easy, but it becomes easy to get onto that journey. So if you don't have that support system, like from your family, from your workplace, from your team, that they don't understand, like, you know, your, because you know, sometimes you might be like, you might not be available for certain things, because suddenly, like, hey, you know what, you need to go to school because you need to pick up because your child is unwell. So you might have some very important meeting at that time, but then do you have, like, you know, that kind of a team, that kind of a company where they value, like, you know, you might end up in these situations, and that doesn't affect your you know, the work that you're doing, like saying that, oh, she is not always available because she sometimes takes off because she her kids are unwell, or she always, like, you know, suddenly vanishes because she has some sort of school run to do. So if these things are not there, like, you know, you have supportive team and company, and then from your family as well, I think it becomes, that journey becomes much more easier to get on and, like, you know, pursue your passion, I can say.
Yeah. I can like just from experience as well. Like I love what you said in terms of, you know, you need to find a workplace that really supports, you know, like your needs. Because I think we mentioned this on like the last episode, why I don't know if it's the last or the previous one before that, but anyway, it's about like really, you know, checking the culture as well of the workplace that you are, you know, going to enter. Because like from my side, like I can, you know, I feel that I'm still valued, even though, for example, like certain hours I can't do because I have to do the school run. I think if you
Mm,
have this transparency, you know, to everyone in your team, then you know it like being a mom, you know, and like working in tech, I think it's not impossible. You just need to be transparent,
yeah,
like from the start, that okay, this is my current situation, but you know, this isn't really going to affect my level of productivity. But it's just, you know, making them understand that why certain hours you can't respond, why
yeah,
you know, need to be more flexible as well in your time. So I totally agree with, yeah, with what you said.
I also
yeah,
think that those are, I almost see those as two different things, right? One is being a woman and one is being a parent, not necessarily a mother, because I think that a father who has kids and is in tech should also have the same issues, right? It doesn't mean that the woman is the one that has to be doing the school run or anything. So I'm so glad that when you were told, you know, you should just be a teacher because basically it's too hard for you to be for you as a potential mother and wife to be in tech, that you didn't listen.
yeah, absolutely. I think you made a, you know, that's a good point that you made about, like, you know, not just a woman, like even men will go through the same issues of, like, you know,
Mhm.
doing, because even they, I think sometimes they have certain responsibilities towards kids while they are working, and they as well might have these kind of challenges. Yeah,
Yeah. This reminded me because I have one person that I've connected like via LinkedIn or Twitter. You might know him, Parveen Lee, the pirate tester. And I
yeah,
saw like a YouTube video that he's created, and because he's looking for a new job, and he has a chapter there on like what he's looking for, you know, in terms of the new job, because like he's also a parent, he also, you know, needs to do like the school run. So he's, you know, very explicit on, you know, what like culture he's looking for, like what company is the right fit for him. So yeah, it's not just for women, but yeah, for men in tech as well.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think yeah, that's true. I know, like, and I've watched that video, and I know I think that's the thing, like, being transparent and making sure you just, because you need to express yourself, what your what your responsibilities are, or what challenges you have, while you, like, just being that transparency. Because I know, I think some point, I don't know about every woman, but I think, especially me, I think initially, I think I used to feel a bit worried whenever I used to be a bit more transparent. Oh, you know what, I need to go today because I have this sports day of my child, and I want to be there. So I used to feel like that's something extra that I'm asking for. Like, I used to think quite a lot before even I ask, like, or even if I even if I want to create that transparency, because I used to feel like maybe I'll be judged, maybe I'll be seen like, oh, she's not interested in work, she's just like, all those thoughts, like assumptions, basically. So I think men are really, I don't know, like, I'm just giving my opinion. Maybe men are really good at just being so transparent, saying that this is my responsibilities and this is how I would want to work around at my work. But I think, like, at least me, I struggled a lot to get the stage where I am to be more transparent, saying that it's fine, like, I have school run. I mean, that's okay, like, but that doesn't mean that I won't work, or that doesn't mean that my work will get affected. So yeah.
I wonder if that's also a cultural thing. I know that at least my experience in the Philippines is that um, women and men are equal. I think mostly in Philippine culture, but that doesn't mean we don't have gender roles. And I do think that there was this idea, and I felt the pressure from it, that a woman is not usually that like straightforward or blunt. You don't really say what you want. You just kind of, do it in a little bit more of like with more finesse or more subtlety. And I think it is a very Western thing where now, of course, this is like decades later after I got into working in general. Now I would be like, no, this is what I want. This is the kind of work culture that I want. But I think, like, how do you help someone who's just getting into this new world, this new Western world, and how do you get them to find that confidence in themselves to know what they want and also to ask for it in plain terms? That's difficult.
Yeah, because
Oh.
there might also be the element of, let's say, someone is just starting. Because I think for us, we've been working in tech. I
Mm.
don't know how long you've been in tech for, but at least with myself and Nicole, we've been doing this for at least 10 years. So I can imagine that if I was just starting in tech, I would also feel maybe not too confident to ask that.
Mm.
But I think now, so for example, speaking of sports day, I have my daughter's sports day as well next week. I just added it in my calendar that, yep, I'll be out this morning. But it doesn't mean that I still can't do my job,
Mm.
properly. It's just I need to be more flexible this day. But is that the same for, new people just, coming into tech? So that might be a bit different too.
You know what's super helpful is that from ever since I joined this company in particular, our manager and our manager's manager, I'm talking about Pepe and Robin Marie.
Mm,
They are parents
so,
and
yeah.
they put it in their calendars like don't book family
Yeah.
time, or
Yeah.
like
That's
they
so
say
true.
when they're just not available.
Yeah.
And I love that. I don't have kids myself, but I love seeing that because it normalizes it. It is
Yeah.
normal. Like it should be
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Normalizing it, right? And I think, yeah, what you mentioned there was like more cultural thing, which is so, so true. Because I know, like, I think I've struggled a lot with this to and I think I can say I'm still trying to teach myself that, like, it gets in. So the cultural thing is more like, as you said, Nicole, where, like, like, coming from a culture where, like, in olden days, or whatever you can say, like where you have a woman has a specific role, a man has a specific role, and you both are not equal, and you and a woman has to speak in a certain, like, tone, and, like, all those things, like, a lot of things I can say, like, that kind of like has a lot of effect, like, when you're working, and you, even though you feel like you're not, so mostly those cultural things are even more evident when you are in a group of family gatherings, or with your, like, but then I think I kind of like, um with a lot of reflecting on myself, like, you realize that I used to have those even when I used to work with my team, like, because, and then I used to remind myself, like, look, I'm not with my family here, I'm with my team. I don't have to be like that. So it has to be like, self awakening kind of a thing, quite a lot of time for me, where it's like, uh I don't want to be like, saying someone very straightforward, like, I don't want to hurt someone, or it's like, oh, I can't say like this because then I will look like I'm very, like, oh my god, she's so ungrateful. Like, I mean, I don't know, like, a lot of things you'll feel like, if I so before even saying something, you don't have to think so much, right? That itself is a, I feel like, kind of a cultural thing, where you thinking twice before even you want to speak out, because because you want to be careful. So I think, yeah, someone new, I can imagine, like, because when I was new, I was fighting with myself, like, whether this is like cultural thing, or which is, because when I say about cultural thing, which is something like, which is inbuilt within you, right, since the childhood, where and again, I'm I feel so proud, I'm glad that I'm from the family, like, my dad was the one who used to push me to get into tech, and I was the first, I can say, like, woman in my whole family where I've pursued my education, and done masters. So at least, like, I didn't experience that much of a thing, but I think still there are a few things, from your, what do you say, not community, but from your people where you live, right, the
Mm.
community of the people, like, so those are the things which you see, and you feel like, yeah, you have to be like that. But I think when people, at least, um anyone new who's getting into tech, I think I would say, like, to build that confidence, it takes a lot of time, and to leave yourself outside your work,
Mm.
which is kind of like, it takes a lot of practice and time to say, like, you, whatever, the cultural things are, or it's just that you don't have to get that, within your teams, within your work, it doesn't have to be your blocker for how confident you want to look like, or sound like, or what you want to say, what you not want to say, kind of.
Yeah. Also the importance. So I think like, that we can group this into like two main parts. So one is that, building that self-confidence, and the other,
Yeah,
which we already talked about, is you really need to find, the not perfect, but in terms of like the perfect fit,
yeah,
in terms of the employer that you're looking for.
yeah.
Because if you're gonna have a manager who's, I guess, not really as empathetic as they can be, then it can be difficult. But if you find someone who, can really understand, I
Mm,
guess, like, if you make like certain requests, it definitely makes it easier.
yeah,
I think that cultural shock is something that's, obviously really common, a common experience among immigrants, and all three of us here are immigrants as well. How difficult was it for you? I don't know exactly when you moved to the UK. Obviously, you speak English now, but what was your English like when you went to the UK?
yeah. I can say, like, I mean, so where, like, when all, even though, like, that's the thing I learned, like, even though you have all your education in English back home in India, right, and you feel like, yeah, I can speak English. When I came here, um so I thought, yeah, I know English, so I mean, it's not like, it's just about understanding. So that's how much I knew, and I was like, yeah, I understand English and I can speak English, so it's fine. But then when I came, I learned about different accents, like, and that's where how you need
Yes.
to understand. And that's exactly where the challenge comes in, whether you know English or not. I think that's what I
Yeah.
learned, at least, like, and I think I still remember when I joined my first job, like, I think for 1 week everything would just go on top of my head, like, it was like, oh my. And
Oh,
I used to
yes.
be like, I couldn't even say that I don't understand what you're saying, because I was like, of course, like, it was first week of job,
Mm.
and being new to this country, and I was like, oh no, there's problem in me because I don't understand English. I thought I used to understand English, but I realized I don't understand. So I think, yeah, it was this challenge, right? And then I think, slowly, like, when I started saying people, like, can you just speak a little slow so that I can
Yeah.
understand? And I think I used to, like, yeah, concentration. And then I think it took me a while, like, to understand that, there are different people with different accents, because different people from different places, and there's, like, yeah, different variations in English, so it's not just English is English.
Yeah.
And yeah, it took me a few weeks, and just to slowly to blend in and to understand, and and now, like, yeah, I think it's a huge
Yeah.
difference, I can say, yeah.
British English as well is just so different than American English, because like even back in the Philippines we were taught American English, and I remember like when I first came here, like w- some British words like the loo, Q. I'm like, what are we talking about? Like I don't
Yeah.
understand any of these words. So yeah, there was definitely that, adjustment. Because English, like in different countries, even though it's universal, there are
Yeah,
certain words that are definitely different.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I can so relate because I also felt like, I English was the medium of instruction for pretty much all my schooling. I learned English in school like most people in the Philippines. And yet when I moved to Australia, it was like, are you still speaking English? It's not just the words themselves, but like the slang is
Yeah.
Yeah.
completely different. They would say like servo, and I'm like, I just don't know what that is.
What's a servo?
It's a gas station.
Oh,
So they
Oh,
Australians have this way. So it's actually service station for them, but they don't say service station. They say
oh,
servo.
servo. Yeah, it's a shortcut.
Or they
mm,
don't say afternoon, they say avo. How do you
Oh,
know that? We didn't speak like that in school, of course.
mm,
It's so different. Even like turns of phrase, like, oh, I think I'm going to chuck a sickie today. Like, what? How is it possible to understand every word but not understand what you mean?
yeah.
So there are a lot of things like that. Chucking a sickie means like, I'm going to call in
mm.
sick.
Like, yeah. Did you have the same experience, Parveen? Like, when you first heard the word bank holiday, I'm just like, wait, why is it called bank holiday? Like, are
I
the
know.
banks
Oh my God.
closed?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
what?
Yeah, I know. I think I still remember, and I laugh at that. Like, when I was new, I think I came in December.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, everyone used to say, like, hey, yeah, it's Boxing Day. And
Yeah.
I was like,
Oh,
okay,
we have that
what is
too.
it? Like, because I didn't knew what day is it, like, what
Yeah.
exactly it is. And so I used to be, oh, so, and then everyone used, like, all my friends, they said, like, oh, yeah, are you coming on a Boxing Day? Because we really go. And I'm like, in my head, yes, I feel so embarrassed about that, because I didn't knew. I was like, maybe I thought there's some kind of, like, boxing match going
Yeah.
on, and
Yeah.
they
I
were
know.
there,
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
like, and I didn't understand why are they so excited to watch that,
Yeah.
like, I mean, I was like, okay, maybe there's something interesting. So yeah, I think I feel so embarrassed about that, but I still laugh on that. And then, like, I was like, yeah, I have these kind of experiences a lot, thinking, like, yeah, like Boxing Day, bank holiday, and a lot
Yeah.
of different stuff. Yeah.
So what is your native language?
Yeah, so we speak Urdu and Hindi both at home. So yeah,
Mm.
I think, like, we speak that language, and I still know, like, I don't know how, Marie, it's with you, like, like, for me, like, we speak Urdu and Hindi, and my like that's the language we speak. Even with my kids, I speak that language, but my kids respond in English basically. So that's
Mm,
how it is. So
yeah.
what language is yours, Marie?
So it's the same with Nicole, but we speak Tagalog. And I do try to speak with Gabby, but like I think I should have done it like much earlier. Like she can understand, like for example, if she can count in Tagalog or like the body parts, but if I just speak to her like straight up in Tagalog, she doesn't understand. But I'm still
Oh,
hoping that yeah, she can learn how to speak it like fluently, because I think it's great to let your kids speak like your mother tongue, because like it also helps them like whenever they have to visit back home, at
yeah,
least they can converse with them
yeah,
quite
yeah,
easily.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so mine is Tagalog too, but I wanted to try. मेरा नाम Nicole है, तुम्हारा नाम
Oh
क्या
my
है?
God.
That's not
Just
Tagalog.
to say my name's Nicole, and I asked her what her
That's
name is.
nice. Mera naam
um,
Nicole hai. Yeah, that's nice.
yeah, so Tagalog is also my native language, and I mean most people speak English in the
Mm,
Philippines, at least like in Manila. And my parents spoke English, but they didn't really like at home. It was Tagalog or Taglish, which is like a
Yeah.
mix of Tagalog and
mm,
English. And my English was already pretty good when I moved out. But like you said, like it's not really grammar that you need. I mean, that's important and vocabulary, but some things you just don't know. And
Yeah.
even now, like the thing that has been the best for my English is marrying an English speaker. So, because like now I just have to speak English all the time. But even now, I don't know if you two feel like this, but there's still like people are surprised when I say I'm not a native English speaker, but I totally don't feel like one. I feel it like my native language is Tagalog.
Mm.
Some things that I think about, it's like I just think of it in Tagalog first, and there is still a layer of translation. And
Yeah.
then there's also the cultural side of it. Like I might speak English and I might sound American, but I don't know like American pop culture, or I didn't grow up watching like Sesame Street. I grew up watching Batibot, which is like our version of Sesame Street.
Escuela.
Or in Australia, it's like High Five.
Yeah.
I'm out of the loop on those cultural things,
Yeah.
so it's difficult, right? Like that's not something that we talk about
Mm.
when we think about people immigrants getting into tech, and there are a lot of immigrants in tech.
Yeah.
There's already like this mental barrier before we even learn about tech. We have to
yeah,
learn the language that is used to describe a lot of things in tech.
Yeah.
yeah.
That might lead to our next, topic, because I don't know if you felt the same, Parveen. But when I, like before doing all the public speaking, like I hated like speaking in English. And I like, if you visit, for example, my blog, it says there I have a fear of public speaking, but made
Really?
I made it as a challenge. So that was one of my motivation to speak at meetups, try to speak at conferences, is to improve, my English, as a very fluent, language. Did you experience the same? Because you are now an international keynote speaker. Like you've spoken at various conferences. We're gonna see you this year at Agile Testing Days in Potsdam. So could you tell us a bit of your, like what's the journey for you to, like public speaking? Was it a challenge that you set to yourself, or you just always wanted to, to do it?
Yeah, no, I think as you said, right, like English, I think before even I wanted to do this, I kept myself as a barrier, like, oh my God, maybe like because I'm not a like again, I think I all the time think like, okay, English is not my first language, so I'm not good at English. So that's how my thought process starts, even though it's not like, yeah. So I think my speaking journey is like, I never thought like I will, like, I'll get into speaking, or I never thought of it because I was very I had this fear, like, I have fear of course, like I'm scared of, like, getting on the stage and speaking and sharing my opinions publicly, and I had that fear. But I think it's just that something inspired me, like, when I saw Angie. So my first, like, inspiration was from Angie Jones, when I watched her gave a talk on some automation related topic. And I think that's where it started off, the inspiration that I got from when I saw her, like, when she was like sharing and being up there on the stage and talking, like, it just felt so inspirational and so much energy, like, and then I thought, yeah, I really want to do, I want to share my experiences as well, especially one thing being like, I want to share experiences, and I want to share my knowledge. And the other thing was like, I never saw someone like me in any of the like, forget about speakers, but in the audience as well. So, I mean, there might be a lot, but I think to the conferences, like, or the talks that I used to watch, like, when I was learning, so I think I didn't see any of them. So then I thought, okay, I want to share my knowledge, and I want to see, like, if I can represent, like, I can yeah, be there, like, just to see, like, to share, be different and be there, kind of like, and so that's how it kind of started, how why I wanted to do, even though I was like terrified, like, I was like, no, my English is not good, maybe, I shouldn't be doing this. And that was the first barrier. And but then, I just thought, I just want to I just challenged myself, I guess, like, just how Marie said, right? Even so, fighting with your fears and challenging yourself just to do the things that you kind of like hate or have the fear, so that you can, it's not about just getting over it, but at least to learn to embrace it, kind of like, I just thought like, I didn't get into speaking thinking that, oh, I will just get rid of my public speaking fear or something like that, but I was more like, I just want to do this, like, I just want to do this, so that, I feel like, this is not something that I'm very feared of, or I'm feared of. I am scared still, like, of course I am scared whenever I go onto the stage or speaking at conferences or something. But I think embracing that and just being there, and I wanted to get into speaking for these two reasons. And yeah, I think but for me, apart from my own fear and apart from having my own goal of why I wanted to do this, I think what helped me a lot was like um, community. And especially I got mentorship when I started my speaking journey of and having getting that help, you know you having a goal, but then having someone that can help you, guide you. Because when you talk about speaking, there's so many things, right, which you don't know when you are very completely new to this space, right? You don't know whether where which conferences to approach, or how, what is an abstract, what is a CFP. There are so many things, and how can, or the first thing is like, oh, I don't have anything to talk about, because there's so many people already have spoken about the same topic. So there's so many different things that you need help with. And I think for me it was more like having my own goal and having people who help me, like, to mentor me for my first talk. And yeah, Angie Jones and Marit were my mentors. And so I think they helped me a lot. So it was yeah, a combination of these different things of how I got into speaking.
Nice. It's inspiring, for you to say that, because I know whenever, for example, I've attended conference where, like, I'm a speaker, and then, for example, I see, the rest of the speaker, it feels good at the same time, because you're representing, yourself, you're representing like where you're from. And when people see that, you're hoping that that could also, inspire other people to do the same. So yeah, thank you for doing that, because I'm sure, it's gonna, like, if like people have seen, your talks, like they see that you're one of the keynote speaker, that they see that you're gonna do a workshop, then that can also inspire them, like, for example, how Angie inspired you, then you're now gonna be, inspiring other people.
I wanted to ask you about kind of the flip side of what you said, because it's something that I also think about, because you were talking about wanting to basically be the representation that you wanted to see in our industry. And I very much relate to that. But do you also ever feel like the pressure that, because you are in a position that you can, that you know how to speak, and that you come from a place of experience and knowledge that you can share, do you ever feel pressured to do it so that people can, um, other people who are younger maybe, or who look like
Mm.
you, can look up to you? How do you handle that?
Oh, that's a good. Yeah. No, I think I never felt any kind of a pressure on myself, thinking that, oh, now that I've started speaking, and now that the reason, like, of like, oh, I want to represent certain a group of people, so now I have to keep continuing that. Or I mean, yeah, I think I never felt that kind of a pressure, because I think I just so when I think maybe the reason why I didn't feel that pressure is because maybe when I started off, I thought like, okay, I want to speak at least at one conference a year, so
Mm.
that I can see, like, if people can see me, I can represent. Okay. But then I think when I started off, I can say, like, I got a lot of opportunities, like I got to speaking at different conferences, multiple conferences at a time. And slowly I think that helped me grow in my own personal journey, but as well as my career, as well as like represent. So I think it helped me fulfill a lot of things. So I never thought of like having that pressure that I need to do multiple conferences given a year. So I didn't kind of set a target, or like, something on those lines, saying that I have to speak at different these many number of conferences, so that only then I'll be able to um, help people see me, or like, I so that I can inspire people. So I think I kind of, yeah, I think it was a kind of a flow with the flow that I went on. And I think which is what helped me not create that pressure at all. And yeah, I do feel like I don't know if I'm doing enough. I feel like, I don't know if I'm doing enough that people can, like, relate to me, or am I just being within the testing community, like, only in the testing side of things. Maybe there are, there's still, I question myself that maybe I'm not doing enough. But I think then I try to see, like, what else can I do. So that's where I think maybe speaking is not the only thing I can do to represent. So then I started, like, mentoring different people who want to get into speaking, or who need some help within getting into testing, or already they are doing testing and they want to like, step up as a senior tester, or a, so I think I try to do these in different areas, maybe. So which is, I don't know, which is why maybe I think you asked me this question. Now I'm thinking about my own self, like maybe um am I even doing it enough, that I'm not creating that pressure on myself. Because yeah, I think I kind of like divided this into different streams, where, yeah, speaking and mentoring different people, and trying to be trying to be giving as much as possible. Yeah.
I think that is the pressure that I was talking about. I'm laughing because you're here and you speak so much and you mentor, and this is all after, aside from the fact that you are a professional in this industry, and you're like, am I doing enough? And the answer is yes, of course you are.
Yeah.
This is so relatable. Like, this is what I mean, that sometimes I do get that feeling of, I should be doing more, I want to help more, but we can only do what we have energy for.
Limited time and resources.
Yeah.
I
So
also wanted to ask you if it's okay if you feel comfortable talking about it. I can imagine that when people, because you said you never saw someone like you in the audience, much less on stage. And I can imagine that most people, when they look at you, would see the hijab first. Now, is that something that you have struggled with, like people's perceptions, or what has your experience been around that? Only if you're comfortable sharing.
yeah, no, I think I'm okay. Like, yeah, I'm comfortable sharing that. Thanks for asking that question. Like, I think, yeah, I think people like, yeah, first see me as a, I think they have a lot of different perceptions. Like when they look me, and then they're like, yeah, she's a hijabi woman, like, who is so they have a definition when they look at me of like being a specific type, and fitting me into their own box, I can say, like, what they perceive me as because I wear a hijab. Yeah, because yeah, you reminded me of something very funny, because I remember, I had one of my colleague, very long back, and I was listening to a very, rock kind of a music, Bollywood music. I'm a fan, like, I love music. I like, I'm a huge fan of Bollywood songs and stuff. So, and whenever I have to concentrate or do something, like, or like, I just listen to the music, and I used to do that. So one day, like, one of my colleague came to me, and he was like, "Oh, let me see what music are you listening to?" And he was like, he took the headphones, and he was listening, and he was like, "Oh my god, do you listen to such kind of music as well? I thought you're a very soft person where you don't, like, like rock kind of a music, or you don't even like music, and you like, I mean, I know this is a simple thing, but I think that was a very huge shock for me. Like, oh my God, do you mean like you thought because of that, because I wear a hijab and this is how I dress up, like, and this is who I am. So you had certain perception, and I think these kind of, I had these, like, a lot of experiences of these kind where people think that I don't do certain things because I wear this, and I feel sad that people only, when they think of me, like, only think of hijab, like, not as me as a person, like, and what kind of a person I am. Or they don't try to see, like, okay, hey Parveen, like, asking me away, like, y- yeah, I had these kind of experiences a lot. And I think slowly I got into the phase where I was like, okay, I want to tell people, like, create that visibility from my side, where, this is, don't expect, keep me in your own box, thinking like this is me because I'm wearing this, or having your own perception. So I think I started, like, talking, sharing a lot of stuff from my side, like, create not just work related, like, what I used to do, how I was in my, like, so just sharing your personal stories, or your, not exactly very personal things, but your personal stories, where this is what you used to do. And people used to get surprised, like, when I used to say, like, what, I used to play a sports, like, I was a sports champion in my uni days, because I used to love playing badminton. They're like, really? And I'm like, wearing hijab doesn't mean that you don't do any specific thing, or it stops doing specific thing. Like, you are a same human, you're a same person, like,
We were just talking about this in the last episode. We were talking about appearances in tech in particular, and how, like it or not, everybody judges everybody else. Whether or not they're, willing to
yeah.
change from that first impression is another thing. But, we all have impressions when we look at people. And it is kind of sad to be so visibly other, to be so visibly different. I mean, I guess that also comes with some benefits,
Mm.
um, especially if people associate you with something positive. I
Mm.
know, Marie, you've talked a bit about like how sometimes people perceive you as this, like, meek Filipino woman, the tip stereotype of a Filipino or East Asian woman.
Yeah.
and you're really not.
Yeah, it's, I think definitely like people, will have that impression, they will have different perception, but I think, I guess part of, our role is just to educate them that no, we're not
Yeah.
all, like that. And it's great that, we are sharing our personal experiences. Like for example, yesterday I was speaking at a online meetup, and I think the organizers and most of the attendees, they are from Vienna, and I totally mentioned that, yeah, during my presentation I always like to include elements of me being a parent, me being a mom. So the more you share as well, like
Mm,
personal experience, like the more they get to know you, like maybe not
yeah.
just as a speaker, but just like how
Yeah.
you are as a person.
Yeah.
And I guess being open as well, that um it's okay that you might see us like this, but the important thing is, like, we are not at all like, all the same. Like, we're still all unique individuals, and as long as the other person are, you know like, respectful of it, then that's good to like educate them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
True.
yeah. For the last 5 minutes, because you've mentioned already like helpful advices, to people who want to get started. But I'm wondering if, like, let's say someone wants to do a career change, or someone wants to, I guess, be more active in the community. What tips would you, say to these people?
Yeah. I think only thing I would say is just be like, if you really so your passion has got you into, like, you want to be into tech, right? So that's where you want to start, and that's where you want to change your career, or from wherever you are coming. So I think all I would say is, like, just follow your passion, be authentic yourself, be yourself, from wherever you belong, or from whatever part you come from, or it doesn't it's not just about the location you come from, but your which career you came from, what education you came from, or like whatever, like, just 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 be yourself, and don't try to fit in, because if you try to fit in, you'll end up like doing two different jobs, of doing a job and trying to fit in. So I think just be yourself and follow your passion. And I think gone are those days where you have to fight with your own challenges on your own self. Now you have a lot of communities, and there are so many people, like, if you ask for help, you'll get help, like, that's one of the thing, like, if you don't ask, and if you don't ask, people won't know what you're facing or what you need help with, right? So yeah, ask for help, like, there are a lot of communities there. Explore those communities, network with people, and yeah, make use of that. And also create your visibility. I think that's one of the things that has become very important right now in these days, right? Because
Mm.
um, now everything has gone remote world mostly, like, even though we are back into normal life now, but I think mostly we are still, like, 50% remote work, 50% in office work. So I think now it's more of, like, how you can make use of these platforms and create your visibility, and share your, sharing people, like, what you already know and what you're trying to, like, be in, and sharing that you're new into the tech, and just sharing your learning journey, or like, your path, or um, just create your visibility somehow,
Mm.
and be out there so people know you. That will create even more opportunities for you to even grow further, so yeah, these are the few things I would definitely say. Yeah.
I have a last fun quick question for you. Adobo is a Filipino dish, and it is stereotypically Filipino. A lot of Filipinos love it because it's not just one thing. Adobo is a sort of dish that you can throw all the leftovers that you have in it, and it'll still taste good. It's
Mm-hmm.
also like, for me, it's comfort food. It's where I came from. It's the cuisine that I'm used to. So my question is, what is your comfort food from your culture that reminds you of home, wherever that is?
Yeah, I think so. Biryani is the one. Like, whenever even I don't know, like if you say some, if you just tell someone that you belong, where are you from, look, oh, I'm from Hyderabad, people will say, oh, Hyderabadi biryani. So that's how
Oh.
it is. So I think that's my comfort food, and I'm so glad that even my kids have the same, like, you know, their
Oh.
comfort food is like, for them biryani is like a celebration, like, you know, if there's
Mm.
something that we need to celebrate, they're like, yeah, so now it's time for biryani. So that's kind of a, yeah, food which is like has so much into it. It's not just biryani, it's not just food, but so many things connected to it. So yeah, that's one of my
So from what I can understand, I now have to go to your house and eat your bird.
Hey, am
yes,
I
yes.
invited?
You
Can I
have to
invite
come. You
myself?
have to come here, Nicole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
definitely.
Well, thank you so much, Parveen, like for this like really insightful episode. Like you've shared, a lot of like personal stories from your side. Things that we didn't even know about you, which is great because this is what, this like live stream is for. Next week. So I actually posted this on the Women in Testing Slack channel, and we have a lot of people who want to be a future guest in our episode. So next week, tentatively, we do have Katya Obring. She'll talk about like more like testing and DevOps related. She's written a book about it. So hopefully we can talk about that in our next episode. But yeah, for now, thank you, for joining us, and have a great weekend. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
Have a
so
good
much.
weekend.
Bye.